Cool. So, hi. I did a presentation back in April at the first .NET Meet virtual event. With all the radio silence when speaking is a little bit unusual. Really hasn't put me off, and apparently I volunteered to do another one, which is today. So this evening, for anyone who wasn't here or missed the last talk, I will briefly recap the run up to lockdown and snapshot of,
because I actually thought she would be an excellent resource on fitness,
but also
because of her Anglo experience. But I don't want to again parse her out.
To mute themselves. We've got a lot of interference.
So I'm going to mute everyone. Then I have to unmute you. One sec. How do we unmute everyone? Mute all. Yes, and then unmute you. There you go.
Amazing. So yeah, basically just a quick snapshot of the current state of the market, the changes we've seen so far, and also look to the future and our best guess at what is yet to come. The key word here is guess. It's an educated one, but it is definitely a guess. Also wanted to talk about what Corriculo are doing in the current climate to help both candidates and clients. So who am I? My name's Megan. I'm one of the account managers here at Corriculo, a regular .NET Oxford attendee, normally the one handing you beer. I do hope you brought your own this evening, as we appear to have neglected our duties this evening. Oh, I can see Dan's definitely got one, and I heard someone had their own beer machine, so this is excellent. A bit about Corriculo. As Matt mentioned at the beginning, we provide sponsorship for the event. We've been with both Dan and Matt since they started .NET Oxford. We're a local recruitment company. Our roots are within IT recruitment, but as we've grown, we've also diversified and we cover a range of positions, markets and industries. So I'm just going to talk to you a little bit about the market, give a brief update and just talk about what we're doing to help at this difficult time. So for anyone who wasn't here last time, I spoke about what the market looked like leading up to lockdown. On the candidate side, it was very, very strong. There was a high demand for candidates, especially within Oxford, within the development space. With the contract market, as expected for the time of year, it was very, very strong and quite steady. And on the client side, we were seeing the same problems that we've always seen. So lack of supply of technical talent. And in order to combat this, we'd seen companies offering better benefits, more flexibility, not only to attract the best talent, but also to hold on to the talent that they did have. If we look to the dreaded word lockdown, in week 1 of lockdown, it was very, very bizarre. It's like someone hit the pause button on absolutely everything. So the majority of clients were holding all of their recruitment in terms of interviews and offering candidates. For most, it was purely the unknown and the impact the current climate would have on their business. But for other companies, it was for logistical reasons. So they had to set up their entire organizations to work remotely. So they needed to kind of take stock and actually work out how things could happen before tackling their recruitment plans. There were other issues, including childcare. So I've been on the phone to many clients and also some colleagues who were locked down with their children. And from what I've heard from them and also heard in the background, it can be quite difficult. There was a 95% drop in the number of new roles across both permanent and contract markets, something that was mirrored in America. The market pause was a truly unique event. It's something that's not been seen even in periods of recession. The government then introduced the coronavirus job retention scheme. That is a bit of a mouthful. I've tried saying it several times, but it comes out funny. Basically, they agreed to have this furlough scheme where they would pay 80% of a person's salary. It's agreed to run up until the end of October, but then the percentage being paid will be tiered down. So this will equate to redundancies. Some sectors were obviously hit harder than others, so health, leisure and tourism in particular, whereas other sectors such as scientific R&D were affected, but in different ways. So they were revising their working practices, making it possible for employees to work remotely and changing kind of interviewing and onboarding, doing so virtually. If we look at trends in the wider economy, you can see that the economy fell 19% in April and then grew only 1.2% in May. We don't honestly know how the economy will respond. There was the hope for a kind of bounce back, like the V-shaped bounce backs you can see in previous years, but things do remain unclear. What we can see is that month on month from May, there has been a 38% increase in permanent positions and a 31% increase in contract even positions being advertised. However, if you look year on year, there are nearly half the vacancies available in June 2020 that there were in June 2019. We can see that the market has recovered some of the ground lost, but it's incredibly unlikely that the market will grow in 2020, or at least equal where it was earlier in the year before the COVID outbreak. This graph is taking into account all of the economy, so every sector, including those that were hit hard and those who currently cease to exist. So we focused on London as this is where you get the most data available, and traditionally, as geographically we're so close to London, where London goes, Oxford tends to follow. Whilst the overall picture is quite bleak, as the previous slide shows, there's 50% less vacancies than last year, there are some things to be optimistic about. The figures are picking up, and because they're all encompassing and include certain sectors, they may not be as negative as you think. You can also see that there is a clear demand is going to remain within the IT sector. So although there will be redundancies, if you're in IT, you shouldn't be out of work for too long. So this graph is breaking down the sections of IT. So as you can see at the top, we have IT development and engineering, and it's nearly double that of IT management. You can see that development is going to dominate, estimating 8,000 development jobs in London by the end of 2020. For this particular chart, it shows the average monthly increase or decrease of jobs based on region. As you can see, the decrease in London is far less than anywhere else in the country, with just a decrease of 37%. If you look at our region, you can see a decrease of 49.3%. However, you need to keep in mind that this is taking into account the entire economy, and it's sweeping everywhere from Oxford to Margate. Oxford itself seems to have its own kind of microclimate, so there's nowhere else in the region that matches Oxford in terms of economic setup. So the figures in Oxford tend to differ to the region as a whole. If we're looking to the remainder even of 2020, it's incredibly difficult to predict. Basically, there's going to be a shift in the way people operate. We've already seen multiple things changing. We've seen a huge shift in working practices. Obviously, everyone was working from home, but we do believe that will continue with increased working from home and flexibility. There's been huge changes to the recruitment process, including releasing offers without actually meeting candidates. Now that can help speed up the recruitment process itself, and long term that could overcome logistical challenges where you have candidates based overseas. Healthcare is obviously a key sector. This has been highlighted as a result of the recent events, and we expect to see an enormous increase in funding for the healthcare industry over the next few weeks, months and years. For clients, if you have the capacity and the funding available to recruit, now is going to be one of the best times to grow. So what are we doing to help? For candidates, if you're currently looking or feeling unsettled and want some advice, we're offering something we call a Corriculo approach. It's a service that we've offered for a number of years. The only difference is it's now a virtual meeting and you have to bring your own coffee or beer, actually, because, you know, we don't judge. So we'll talk to you a little bit more about your current situation, provide market advice, help with your CV so we can provide advice around writing it, and basically placing you in the best position to secure yourself a new opportunity in the current market. Redundancies tend to happen very, very quickly, and they're often unexpected, and candidates do panic and jump from the frying pan to the fire. Don't do this. So if you or anyone you know is in this situation, feel free to reach out. We are more than happy to help. If we're looking on the client side, we can still provide advice on the current market. We've recently spoken to our own client base in order to create a market survey. We found the majority of clients were basically asking us, what is everyone else doing? So we decided to create a document hoping to shed some light on this. We've also put together a redundancy pack. This can be sent to your employees should you be in that position. It can help provide advice and guidance. We've also been working on something we call the Corriculo Marketplace. And basically the idea is companies that have development capacity to spare would be able to sell that capacity to companies that have the demand for it. We're basically aiming at kind of bringing companies together in the difficult times, so helping both candidates and clients whilst also creating a sense of community. If anyone would like a copy of kind of any of the documents that I've mentioned, we can share the client and candidate surveys, or have any questions, issues, anything at all, please feel free to get in touch. There's my kind of contact details. Equally, if anyone has any TV recommendations during lockdown, I'm all open to hearing those as well. I do love a good TV session. And thank you so much for listening.